Okay, go ahead.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and thanks for attending tonight, especially on a beautiful Chicago summer night. I'm Armando Chacon. I'm the president of the West Central Association. I'm also a longtime West Loop resident. I do want to let everybody know that this community meeting is being recorded. We welcome the opportunity to serve Alderman Burnett and our community as we have for decades. We are embracing this new role in hosting community meetings, and we'll do our best to serve everyone. We know it comes with a great deal of responsibility that we take very, very serious. We want to thank Wilco for their years of service in this capacity. I think they did a great job, and we are humbled to take the baton and do the best that we can. As many of you know, we are no strangers to development community meetings, as we have attended all of them over the last several years. Carla Gustinelli, who is now our Director of Community Partnerships and Development, has helped host and coordinate over 200 meetings in the span of over 7 years. So we expect a smooth and seamless transition. We will, however, continually seek to improve them when possible. I also want to say that we believe that all development proposals should have a robust review process that should include the adjacent property owners, the greater community, our alderman, and the developer. Therefore, we are committing to being transparent and proactive with engagement and communication. Everyone is welcome to send comments to communitymeetings@wcachicago.org or carla@wcachicago.org, or even me, if you wish, at armando.chacon@century21.com. So with that, I will hand it over to 27th Ward Alderman Walter Burnett.
Thank you, Armando, and thank you very much for taking on this role. I also like to thank the West Loopgate for their over 20-something years of helping me with this also. And also, I'd be remiss if I did not give the glory to God. Thank him for the opportunity to be here. Thank God we're live. Folks are still, going through stuff with this pandemic. So I pray that everyone's healthy and their family members are healthy. We're very blessed to, even during the pandemic, we've had still development going on. So we're very blessed to have a community that actually is helping to hold up the whole city during the good times and the bad times. How we deal with development, we encourage folks to go to all of the community organizations. In this case, we have some added ones. When you get close to the Greektown area, you have to deal with the Greektown Chamber of Commerce and also the Greektown SSA. We had a West Central organization, a West Loopgate, and also the neighbors of the West Loop. We encourage developers to go and communicate with all of them, and also, if needed, the adjacent property owners. And then we have a community meeting to make sure that folks that may not be a member of these organizations, and especially folks who may live close to the development, have an opportunity to hear what's going on and to express themselves. We take all of these things under consideration. We try to air out all of the challenges here in the community before we get to the Planning Commission and or Zoning Committee, so that we can say we met with everyone and the majority of people in the community have no challenges. Need to let you all know, of course, I'm very pro affordable housing. It's now ordinance now, so folks can't, I don't have to negotiate on that anymore. It's a done deal. But also, need to tell you all, we don't make decisions, myself, and also the Planning Commission, which I'm on that commission. But if something comes up in my ward, I can't vote on it. And also the Zoning Committee, for which I'm on the Zoning Committee, we don't make decisions based on views. If we would have made decisions based on views, the West Loop wouldn't be the West Loop. West Central none of these areas would be what they are because everything blocks someone's views. We take everything else into consideration, but no one is guaranteed a view. Someone sold you a view, well, they misled you in that regards. So with that, we're going to allow the developer to present, and we're going to listen to everyone, and we'll take all these things into consideration. I want to commend and thank everyone for being on the Zoom meeting to find out what's going on and give me input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Burnett. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carla Gustinelli. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships and Development for West Central Association, as has just been represented by both our board president and Alderman Burnett. We will be moving forward tonight with respect and courtesy, allowing everyone an opportunity to speak and or respond to any questions or comments made specifically regarding the proposed zoning change this evening. The legal counsel tonight is attorney Jack George. The development team is GSP Development and Golub and Company. They will present their project and will respond to any questions or comments posted in the Q&A box below. There will also be an opportunity for verbal Q&A, comments and questions. We do ask that all comments be limited to 3 minutes and are limited specifically to this zoning change. And with that, I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Jack. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack George, and I'd like to first start out by thanking the organization for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation tonight concerning our project. With me tonight is Lee Golub and Larry Debb, who are the developers on this project. Also, the architect on the project who you'll be hearing from is Vlad Andrejevic from Goettsch Partners. And also we have Mr. Michael Werthmann from KLOA, who's a traffic engineer. What we would like to talk to you about tonight is a site that is located at 301 South Green Street, which is on the southeast corner of Green and Jackson. This is the Lynn Mathis site. This property is presently zoned DS3, and we are seeking to change the zoning to DX7 and then take a bonus of 4.5. The property on the west side of Green Street, right across the street from us, is zoned DX7, and the property on the north side of Jackson, right across from us, is also zoned DX7. The developer is proposing to put upon this site a residential building that would have 36 floors, would be 404 feet tall. It would have 362 residential units. There would be 129 parking spaces and 251 bicycle parking spaces. This would have an affordable housing component in it. There would be 72 affordable housing units in this building, which is 20%, and those would be built on site. As of today, we first met with Alderman Burnett and showed him this project, and then he listened to us and gave us direction as to what the procedures are, is to go out and to meet with the community groups and listen to them and then make a presentation to them. We have done that. We have met with the alderman. We have met with Greektown SSA. We have met with the Chamber of Commerce. We have met with West Central Association and West Loopgate. And we have gone through and explained what the project is to everyone. We have the last group of meetings that we have yet to schedule are those with the immediate neighbors, and we have held off on that because we have met with the Department of Planning on this. We had an intake meeting, and then this project was chosen by the city as one that would require us to meet with the design committee of the city of Chicago, which is a new committee that has been established by the city for certain projects that they want to look at specifically and give comments on. And so for the last 3 or 4 months, we have been going and we made our presentation to them. They gave us comments. We then have been going back and forth on comments with them. We were waiting until we got all of their comments so that we could then meet with the adjacent neighbors and show them what would be finally proposed for the site. So those are still meetings that we're yet to have is with the adjacent neighbors. What I would like to do at this time is to have Lee Golub and Larry Debb talk a little bit about their respective companies. And after they finish with that, I'd then like to have Vlad from the Goettsch Partners, who's the architect on the project, to go through and explain in detail the PowerPoint presentation that we have prepared for this project. So at this time, I would like to ask Larry and Lee, if you would just give a brief explanation of your companies and the business relationship you have in connection with this project. Lee or Larry, whoever wants to speak.
Hi, this is Larry Debb. Again, thank you all for having this meeting tonight and giving us the opportunity to present this building to you. GSP Development develops multi-family, mostly those suburban type of developments in the range of 100 to 300 units. We teamed up with Golub because of their knowledge, their abilities with more high-rise downtown buildings. And it's been great to be working with them. We've made major changes to the building itself due to city input. And I think what we've come out with is really going to be one of the best looking apartment buildings in all of Chicagoland. And we're excited about that. Lee, do you have some comments?
Yeah, thanks, Larry. And again, thank you to everybody who's attending this meeting. Thank you, the Alderman. I'm Lee Golub, principal with Golub and Company. We are a Chicago-based 60-plus-year-old family development and investment company. I think most people know our name. We've been around the city doing new developments all over the city for many, many years, and been a part of the fabric. We're based on Michigan Avenue. This will be our first development project actually west of the highway. So we're excited about that, coming into the Fulton Market area and the surrounding areas. We are excited about partnering with Larry and his company. We've known each other for a long time. We both were looking at this site and we decided, let's do this together. We both bring different skill sets to it, and we've known each other for a very long time. So we're excited about doing that. And we've also brought in Goettsch Partners to be the design architect who, again, Larry has worked with in the past. Golub has a longstanding relationship with Jim Goettsch and his company, both doing projects in Chicago, throughout the United States, and also abroad in Central and Eastern Europe. As Larry and Jack said, this has been a work in progress with the city. What we're showing you tonight, there's still some things that are going to be, we're still working on with this, some minor tweaks to it, but we had to have a point in time where we're here. Here's where we are in the presentation. We're at the design, so this is where we're at tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Vlad. And again, we will be here. I have Bruce Armstrong in this meeting, who's the head of our development group, our senior vice president of our development group, and me and Larry and the rest of the team. We're here to answer questions. So Vlad, I'd say take it away.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you all. Good evening. Just to make sure that you can hear me well and you can see the cover page of our presentation. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so let's jump into it right away. As Jack mentioned, so our building is currently in DS3 zoning district. We're seeking upzoning to DX7. The site area is 31,214 square feet. We're looking for 11.5 FAR with bonuses. The building is going to be 36 stories. The top of the building at 404 feet. The podium at 41 feet. And the building will have 362 units, 72 of which are going to be affordable. And then 129 parking spaces in the podium and 251 bike parking spaces in the building as well. What you see on the screen is in red is the bulk of the building that we are at this point, and this is the result of our discussions with DPD in terms of what the building should be in terms of the height and the bulk. So we showed several options, and the direction from DPD was to create a building that's slender in footprint and tall as much as possible. So we minimized the footprint of the building to be about 10,000 square feet, which is the minimum we can work with for the residential building. And at the same time, it opens all the views around the building for all the neighboring buildings as much as possible, given the site constraints. With this bulk, what we did is we looked at what is the most prominent spot on site to create a public presence of the building. So the main entry of the building is at the corner of Jackson and Green Street. It's on the Green Street side of the building. And we also created a retail space that extends along Green, which you will see in the subsequent slides. Given that we deal with only two sides that are open to the streets, we plan to push the loading and parking to the southwest corner of the site, which is right here, and they're consolidated in the latest scheme at this corner. So really pushing it in the corner of the site as much as possible and extending the frontage and transparency of the building along two sides that we.
Hey, Vlad, I just don't mean to interrupt, but can you maximize your screen? That might
Sure.
be helpful for some.
Is this better?
Yep, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. So looking at the macro level of the site, you can see our site here in red relative to the neighborhood. We're approximately half-mile north from Blue Line stop at UIC Halsted Station. There are several bus stops along our around our site, which you will see in the subsequent slide. In terms of proximity to the grocery stores, we have Age Mart, Walgreens, which are about in a 1,000-foot range. From Mariano's is right there, so it's pretty close. And then there's a Target on the west side, which is a little bit further away. But essentially, this is where our site lands in the neighborhood. Looking at just closely, you can see the location of the bus stops around our site. And you can also see some of the vehicular access to our site. And in green, it's shown how you would enter the parking of the building. And in the orange, that's our loading that's right next to the parking entry. Some of the views of the site, the upper left image is the corner, the northwest corner, essentially. This is the Jackson Boulevard and Green Street here. Currently, this is a surface parking lot at the corner, and then there is a two-story building, which was Lynn Mattis's headquarters originally. One thing to point out is that currently the sidewalk on Green Street is wider. It's about 15 feet wide, and the sidewalk on Jackson Boulevard is 9 feet as it currently stands, which you can see here on this slide that's on the upper right. This is the view looking west on Jackson Boulevard. And you can also see the height of neighboring buildings, 8-story buildings that are west and north from our site, and 2-story buildings that are east from our site. And in the bottom left slide, you can see the view along Green Street looking north. So this is the bulk and exterior design of our building as it stands right now. The left image is view from northeast, and the right image is view from the northwest. We went back and forth with DPD with the exterior design, and got some comments. We did feedback, got the positive feedback from them in terms of where the tower design currently stands. There is this undulated facade that we worked with that creates an interesting texture, and it's going to create interesting reflections on the building as the sun goes around it. We're still tweaking some of the podium elements, but it's the bulk of it is pretty much there. There's some details, some subtleties that we are adjusting as we speak. So now let me guide you through just around the building at the pedestrian level so that you can get a feel for it. Here you can see this is the northeast corner of the building. The portion that you see is the ground floor with the lobby and leasing, very transparent and very open for view from the outside, which is going to also enhance the security of the neighborhood, as it's going to be very light and it's going to have a 24-hour reception inside the lobby. And then on the second and third floor, here you see the portion where the parking is, that's concealed in the back. And then this portion has some of the tenant storage, but it has the storefront kind of extending with the high level finished materials there. And then turning on Green Street, this is the corner, Jackson here, Green on the other side. You can see the canopy, the entry canopy, which is the main entry to the lobby. And you can see how we enhanced it with the landscaping there. You will see from the plans, we actually pushed back the building on both Jackson and Green in this section. So we widened the sidewalk on Jackson to 15 feet. And we also widened the sidewalk on Green Street to 21 feet in this particular section up to this point, and then goes back to 15 feet further south. Now you can see from the entry canopy, which is at the corner, we extended the active storefront with the retail right next to it, with some of these partitions that can fold and connect interior and inside and out interior space with the outdoor space. The idea here is to have some sort of a cafe that will enhance that activity along the street, along the main street. And then this is the final section along Green Street, which you can see we extended this storefront fill all the way. We just have to have those couple of modules at the end for the loading entry and parking entry. But essentially along this frontage of the building, we can extend the outdoor seating from the cafe. So it really pushes this activity all the way along the frontage of our site. And looking at the floor plans, so on the left side, this is the ground floor plan. So you can see here we have, starting from the northeast corner, we have a planter and a pushback area here, which creates a little landscaped area right at the corner. And then it extends into the active frontage from the leasing to building lobby, and then to the retail right here. We have to deal with some spaces that need street connection, which is common wall, generator, and fire pump room. So that's the area here. But we want to dress it up with the shadow box with some type of a storefront that's going to mimic the retail presence, and then the seating in front of it will enhance that outdoor activity. And lastly, the section here shows the loading entry and exit and parking entry and exit. The image to the right represents the second floor with the parking and tenant storage. And then on the third floor, it repeats essentially the same program for the second floor with tenant storage and parking. And then at the top of that, we have amenity level, which has outdoor amenity spaces. shown here in green, and indoor amenity spaces, which at this point are at the conceptual level in terms of programming. And then from level 5 up to level 35, we have typical residential floors, which are shown here to the left. And then the top floor, the 36th floor, is we have some mechanical space that we have to have at the top, but the rest is going to be indoor amenity and then outdoor deck with a pool which faces south. Some of the exterior elevations, the tower has this glassy feel with the folds that are going to create the quality of the building. We have some subtle detail in the glass, so there are going to be some portions that have some pattern to it, which we will work on further as we move on with the design. And then at the bottom, like I said, this is the portion that we are working with DPD at this point, but those are just details in terms of some of the elements that we show at those first 3 floors. The narrow side of the building, which is facing north and south. This is the view from Jackson Boulevard. And typical sections that show the podium of the building, amenity level and level floor, typical floors in green, and then the top of the building with the pool deck and some of the mechanical. And then finally, just to show some of the data of the project will in total cost about $166 million. It will generate estimated annual real estate taxes of $2 million. The permanent jobs that the project will create will be about 25, with construction jobs between 300 and 400. And the last number we wanted to show is that the project will contribute to a neighborhood opportunity fund with approximately $3.25 million. So with that, this is essentially the presentation that we have for the project. And if you have any questions, I mean, we can go back and forth and come back to any particular slides you want to.
Vladimir, thank you so much for that. It was actually perfect timing. We have a few questions that have come in. The first one is from Mark, who states, I live in the building next door. Everyone I speak to is very concerned about the height of the building and the resulting congestion on Green Street. Why is parking ingress egress not on Jackson, which is a larger street? Street parking is the area of the loop. I'm sorry, street parking is this area of the loop is near impossible. How can adding another 800 residents with only 129 parking spaces not create an impossible parking situation? Finally, the height and steel glass design is a drastic change to the low building height and brick of most of the buildings. It will be a change the entire nature and aesthetic of the neighborhood. Furthermore, there is only one green space in walking distance of the building. That park is already maxed out on weekends. Quality of life in the neighborhood will be significantly degraded by an additional 800 to 1,000 residents.
I don't know, Vlad, can you answer the question with respect to why the entrances are for the garage are off of Green Street and not off of Jackson Street? And then Michael Werthmann, are you on the line at all? Our traffic engineer is from KLOA, Michael Werthmann, is supposed to be on this call. I don't know if he had trouble getting on or not, but I know that he was supposed to be on. But Vlad, can you address the issue about
Sure.
why the traffic is coming in off of Green Street?
Sure. So there are a couple of things that happen here. I mean, we worked closely with DPD, just analyzing the site and discussing what would be the best entry locations for for loading and parking. And given the traffic that happens on Jackson Boulevard and Green Street, parking is usually something that slows down some of that. So having entry and exit point here would create some challenging entry and exit times, if you will, for entering the parking. So that's one point. The other one is really this frontage along Jackson Boulevard was seen as something that should be more transparent and open. And then as it turns, this is probably the part that you want to keep as active. So really, when we discussed all these elements, it came out that really the best point to enter the garage is at the Green Street at this corner. So really, by eliminating all these elements, we came to the point that this is really the best location to have the parking entry and exit and loading entry and exit.
There's also, there's a current curb cut on Jackson because of the parking entrance into that lot. And CDOT, I think CDOT was in some of these intake meetings. I can't remember, Jack, but not having a curb on Jackson is preferred by CDOT.
Right.
And having, we had discussions with CDOT and DPD about, we wanted to split up the loading and the parking entrances off of Green Street more than what's shown here. But they came back and said they'd rather have it together. They're pushing that now. We have, I think, a 10 or 15 foot area between loading and the parking. If you can go on that little area there, Vlad.
Yeah, it's
Well,
right
how wide
here.
is that area right there?
It's about 5 feet between
5 feet?
yes.
And so that's the basic reason why those are pushed over on the southern part of the site on Green Street. To answer the question about how many residents and how many parking spaces, I mean, we're trying to build less parking spaces in all of our projects. This one is a 0.3 something ratio, which is very low. Less cars means less congestion. As far as residents coming into the building, these are mostly studio 1-bedroom units in these kinds of buildings. There's 362 units. I would think the population of this building will be maybe max 1.5 to 2 at the most. So you maybe have 700 residents at the most, but having less parking spaces creates less congestion.
Can you confirm the parking ratio?
Yeah, it's what do we have, 126 divided by 362, is that right?
Yeah.
129 divided by 362.
34.8%.
0.356.
One of the other questions.
Sure.
And I want to mention that we have a huge amenity floor, both on the top as well as top of the third floor. So we'll have our own areas for our dog run. We'll have our own areas for young children. And then we have an adult area. So we will not be a big drag on the park. And that's the thing that we can do with the way Goettsch designed this building. Having that third floor outdoor space is really going to be a plus for the neighborhood because it'll keep people in the building, not going to the public parks.
Michael Werthmann, I saw you got on here.
Yeah, a couple things about the access drive. Green Street is preferred for one main reason is that Green Street is a two-way street. Jackson is one-way eastbound, as we all know. Providing it on Green Street reduces that circulation around the block because being on the two-way street gives you much more flexibility. You can go north or south. So it reduces the circulation that you would have if the access drive's on Jackson. Further, the Green Street access drive is sort of at a mid-block location, which is preferred. We don't have much frontage on Jackson Street. So all of that adds to why the access drive should be on Green Street. Further, the Green Street volume is significantly lower than what's on Jackson. So it'll be much easier to get in and out of the access drive as opposed to Jackson. As it pertains to parking, there's been numerous studies done in the city. And the actual parking ratio, what they found in demand is about a 1/3 ratio, 0.33 parking spaces per unit. As you've heard, this development's providing about a 0.36. To further provide some additional data on that, census data shows that only about 0.35% of 35% of the residents actually commute by private automobile to and from work. So the amount of people actually driving to work in this area is much, much lower than you would expect. Thank you.
And this is Jack. I just wanted to point out too, that this is a transit served location under the ordinance. So the reduced parking is allowed because of the requirement under the new ordinance that allows for, if you're a certain distance within certain transit facilities, that you are allowed to have the reduced parking. And that also is one of the reasons why we're allowed to have the number of parking spaces that we have.
Would you all please take a minute and go over the dumpster and trash area, please, and go over where they're located? I
Glad,
think
will you do
there's,
that?
Sure.
thank you.
Sure. So the area that's shown here where I'm hovering over, this is the trash room inside the building. So it's pretty large area relative to the size of the building. It will work well. It collects all the trash from the tower. So the trash will be collected with a truck that's inside the building. So it backs in here in this stall. Typically in Chicago, there are these larger bins in buildings like this that are rolled out and they will be discharged in the truck inside the building, and then the truck will go in and out. So there's an overhead door here, so it's completely concealed from the outside. It's not going to be visible from the neighborhood at all. So everything is contained inside the building.
Thank you. The next question coming in, sorry, is from Katerina, who is asking how are neighboring buildings being considered. The building on the south side that she lives in is completely blocked from the development. The building is also massive, much bigger than anything in this space in both depth and height, and completely opposes the current culture of the area. She's very concerned about this project. Would you like to comment or question or respond? Anyone?
Jack, you wanna talk about that for a second?
Well, sure, but I think one of the initial points is that when we looked at this site and we met with the Department of Planning and Development, I mean, one of the things that the city considers now is that in designing buildings, especially in tight urban areas, is that they look to see what kind of light and air is being designed for the people in the surrounding community. And in this particular building, when we met with the Department of Planning initially, they said one of their major concerns was what kind of air and light are you providing for the neighboring buildings? And their theory is, and our theory is too, you can build a building that is thin and slender and taller, and provide light and air, as opposed to building a building that's shorter and squatter and fatter and takes up all that area and then deprives the adjoining buildings of that light and air. And that was one of the directives we got in the beginning. And that was one of the things that helped us when we were considering the design of this building and how we would utilize this space. And as Vlad has indicated in Goettsch Partners, who that was one of the things that they really were concerned about, is putting up this building. How do we provide the building we want and the number of units, but at the same time, taking into consideration the light and the air for the surrounding buildings. And so that's one of the important things one of the important considerations that we took into effect when we were designing this. And maybe Lee or Vlad, you want to add additional comments, but I know that was one of the main directives we were given when we started out with this project.
Go ahead. I mean, Vlad, go ahead.
Yeah, I can just, I mean, in this slide, you can see, I just wanted to illustrate here. So I think the building we're talking about is this building here. So between our site and the building, there is a surface parking lot, which creates certain buffer already. And then really for a half of the parcel, essentially, we build a 41-foot tall podium. So that's what's going to be on that side. So the tower is significantly pushed away from the building. I mean, I'm just ballparking right now, but we're talking about between 150 and 200 feet of a distance between the tower and the building we're talking about.
Thank you. Can we review the unit mixture?
Lee, yeah,
Sure.
Lee or
Vlad, you got that.
Vlad, you
I
have
can,
it?
so the building will have 362 units, of which 40% are efficiency units. So those are going to be studios. And then the rest is 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. Roughly, we have about 25% of 2 bedrooms, and then the remaining is going to be 1. So it's really between studios, 1s and 2s.
Mostly studios and ones, about 65%,
Right.
25%. I don't think we have any 3s in this program, right?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Another question is it feasible to provide public green space in the amenities area during certain hours?
Well, the amenities areas are upstairs in a private building. So I would say probably not. I mean, the space, the outdoor spaces obviously are public. And the idea, go to site plan, Vlad. Yeah, the amenity spaces are upstairs on the, as Larry said, the 4th floor and then the top floor. So those are private for use of the residents and the residents' guests. The again, that space, that little space that it sits to right over there, where we have a green space and potentially some public art over there. Again, it's not a big space, but we're going to try to make it as nice as we possibly can. We did do something similar to that in a space in Streeterville where we put up a statue of Captain Streeter and created it. It's almost about the same size of that area over there. So the idea is to bring something, you know, the Greektown neighborhood and do something that celebrates that and figure that out. But that's kind of the spot that we have outlined to be for that use.
Thank you. The next comment we have is that a 4-way stop sign at Green and Van Buren is going to be absolutely critical if this project is built. It is already desperately needed. It's already very difficult to turn from Green onto Van Buren, not to mention dangerous for pedestrians crossing Green on the north side of Van Buren. I will let one of you all take that answer, as I know that we've been having many conversations about this today.
Well, they can't, well, they can't do anything about a stop sign.
Right.
So I only can do that. And we're going to introduce that at the next council meeting, not because of this building, just because it was asked. So we're going to put it in. And yes, I agree. It is needed there. And also, I just want to say is 2 trains of thought in relationship to parking. Some folks say if you build it, they will come. So they say if you build more parking, you'll have more cars. I think the city, you know, they're trying to, we actually getting ready to introduce an ordinance now around trains and public transportation to have less parking because of wanting less cars to be on the street and also for the environment. And I think, you know, most other cities and everyone around the country is going in that way. Plus, with smaller units and younger folks possibly moving in the buildings, they usually have bikes or they walk or they move there because they're close to their jobs. But that's just my analogy of the situation in regards to parking. Now, I mean, I'm okay. Like I said, you can ask for more parking. Planning frowns on more parking, but you can ask for more parking. You get more cars. You have less parking, you have less cars. Also, folks need to know this do have to go before the plan commission, but it also has to go to planning first. I know they went before the design guideline folks, and I don't know if there's anyone from planning that's on this Zoom meeting. Is there anyone here from planning? Because usually planning is here to see what the responses are. So there's several layers of folks that I got to deal with in relationship to these developments. But so planning, I haven't heard planning's perspective of this. And I should say that I don't know if planning already approved you all or not, but if they hadn't approved you all as of yet or okay with your development, that means there's a potential for this to possibly change. So you all just need to be aware of that. So I don't want to mislead people, but I just want everyone to understand all of the dynamics in relationship to this development. But we did put I had my guy, as soon as Carla told me about it, we had it, we thought about it. I used to go to that when they had a coffee shop right there on Green and Van Buren, and I thought about it. Yes, he's right. It should be a stop sign, four-way stop sign there. So we're putting that in.
Just to pick up on what you just said, Alderman, this is Jack George. We have just filed the plan development application. This it has not been approved by the city. As I indicated earlier, I had held off meeting with the immediate neighbors right close to us because I was waiting to get the final, sort of a final decision as to what their comments were about the design of the building and the podium. And then I was going to go to them. So we still want to have meetings with the adjoining neighbors to let them know and get a better look at it other than just this big community meeting. And so we still have to, do all of that. We have to go through the approval for the Department of Planning. We have to get CDOT approval. We have to get approval from the Mayor's Office of People with Physical Disabilities. We then have to get DPD to approve it. And then ultimately, if that happens, it would be placed onto the agenda of the Plan Commission. And then from there, it has to go to the Zoning Committee. And both of those are committees that you're on. And so, but there's still a long way to go yet. And what we're trying to do now is to just vet the project with all of the people that we can possibly show it to, so that they will know what we're talking about and we can listen to their comments. So I just wanted to give the status of where we're at with the project.
Thank you so much. We have a couple more typed questions, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up for folks to raise their hand and make public comments or questions. The first question is, the building looks great, but excuse my ignorance, I see all these new residential developments going up, but I have not heard anything about infrastructure to accommodate them. In addition to the parking, what about schools, fire, and police coverage? The comment regarding the parking, saying we can have less parking because that attitude is concerning. Just because you can't doesn't mean you should. Any comments to that? If not, do we have any comments about the infrastructure at this time?
Not understanding the question 100%. The infrastructure for the city, because we're adding 360 units?
The impact on the local schools for the additional residents.
Alderman or Jack? I don't know.
Well, I don't know, maybe the Alderman's probably the best one to know to have that. You indicated that the most people that would be in the building would be about 700 people. I don't know, projecting how many children would be living in this building. I don't know, but I'll sure give a shot and try to find out and give you the answer on that. But I think that one of the things that we will look at, and we have looked at, is whether or not this would have an adverse impact on the school system of surrounding schools in the area. And we do not believe it would, because there would be minimal amount of children living in this building. But I don't know but I will be glad to devote more attention to that question and give you a better answer. And I'll email that to you, Carla, once I get a better projection for that.
Thank you so much.
Let me add to
Go ahead.
this.
Absolutely.
This is something that, at least with the West Central Association, I know with other communities, we're talking a lot about. Most recently, there was a community meeting to discuss how to spend the LIFT funds, and we obviously discussed 5 different projects, and I expect that there'll be others. So this is a lot. We're talking a lot about this. I believe there's a contribution which our local community would be able to benefit from and use some of these funds for these infrastructure related type projects. Obviously, we've been discussing public safety and so forth. But yes, I mean, we agree that this has to be top of mind. Excuse me, one sec. So I just wanted to mention that.
Great, thank you. The next is talking about, can the building be further removed from the neighboring buildings or made smaller so both the developers and neighbors can benefit? One, just regarding privacy. The next comment is, even though it's stated that less parking will help alleviate car congestion, other high density developments in the area have led to an immense increase in Uber Lyft traffic. What are your plans to minimize the impact of rideshare congestion around the building and increasing safety for pedestrians on the street?
Michael, you still on as far as the ride sharing? I mean, we have two streets, obviously, only to work with Jackson and Green Street. I would assume that, again, Jackson is a one-way, more heavily trafficked than Green Street, but there's only two
Right.
spots for that to happen.
Yeah, we will work with CDOT on providing a loading zone at the main entrance on both Green Street and Jackson Street to be able to accommodate those Ubers, taxi lifts. In our study, we actually account for that, a certain percentage of the traffic being Ubers and Lyfts. So we will work with CDOT to ensure that there's sufficient space to accommodate the pickup and drop off activity at the proposed development.
And we have it hatched there on the drawing on the site plan on the left.
Yes, we're
Michael, I
showing.
don't think we're going to be able to get that on Jackson. I think it's only going to be on Green Street, right?
Right. So it'll probably primarily be on Green Street, and we will make sure CDOT is comfortable with that.
We have two more
Hold on,
comments
this-
and questions. Yep, sorry.
This is Alderman Burnett. So we can further discuss this with transportation. You know, what some buildings have, with some of the designs we've been seeing lately in regards to that, folks they've been putting in these, like these indented sidewalks to take the pickup and drop off of the, yeah, the Uber thing. Is that, you have one right there?
So again, a lay-by would be, we like
Lay-by.
laybys.
You call it a lay-by? Okay. So,
We like laybys, but that's something that we got, CDOT doesn't like them all the time.
Yeah, but it's beneficial to the community because you don't hold up traffic, right?
So the
Cars pull
question,
over.
yeah, the question here was on some of the earlier designs we had in dealing with CPD and the design committee. They wanted us to create retail space. Our original design didn't have any retail space, and the natural spot for this retail space, because of the traffic on Jackson, we still think is right here in the middle of the street next to the lobby, because we, in order to access the tower, because the tower is so far to the north of our site, we need to have our elevator core close to where the lobby is. And if we moved it, it might cause, I mean, actually we did study this and it was causing us problems. So the answer of a lay-by over on Green Street over there, I think we could do. I think, again, we got to deal with CDOT, we got to deal with landscaping and everything else that the city requires as well, as you know, Alderman, but we like lay-bys as a general.
Okay,
I'm
we
just
can
gonna
talk about
sketch over. So essentially what we're talking about is some sort of a lay-by here.
Yeah. Right.
CDOT's often opposed to laybys and the fact that it takes up sidewalk space. And a lot of times they're used for angled parking and they're not even used as, Uber pickup and drop off. They typically like to just do it on the street along the curb as we're showing here.
Yeah, but you can always just say no parking. But we can talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah,
We can talk about it.
no problem.
We'll take those things under consideration.
Thank you. The next question is, when does the ward redistricting go into effect? Shouldn't this project be held until the alderman who will be in place during the project construction be in place before moving forward. Also, I have lived in this neighborhood for over 21 years. We have been told time and time again that these tall skyscraper buildings would only be placed along the expressway, and it appears that slowly they are beginning to encroach upon the central part of the neighborhood, causing massive congestion and changing the feel of the neighborhood.
Yeah, so those are two good questions. So the new remap doesn't go into effect until after the election. So folks who run will be running in the new ward. But until May of next year, I will still have to service this area and other areas in my ward that are not in our area anymore. And that's not just myself, but that's also like a lot of the area around us is in, I think, the 25th ward, and some is in the 28th ward, and those two aldermen still have to service those areas, and they're still responsible for what happens in those areas. So we still have to take care of them, and it's our job. So we're going to continue to take on our responsibility.
Great. Next question, why are there so many affordable units? Is this due to some kind of general requirement ordinance in the city or the ward for all residential buildings? Or was this something that was desired, negotiated by certain stakeholders?
No, this is from the latest affordable housing requirement ordinance, which require every building in the city, except for in the Fulton Market, to be 20% affordable. And the Fulton Market is encouraged to be 30% affordable. And folks need to know affordable is not low income. Affordable is working class people. Some of the new employees at Google qualify for affordability, police qualify, teachers, nurses, folks like that. So it brings a good mix. Some of the challenges, matter of fact, in this community, as of late, as everything started to continue to go up and become more and more expensive, because units are going for about $4 a square foot now in the area, which means for 1,000 square foot apartment, units can go for $4,000 a month. People are constantly now asking for more affordability so they can be able to stay in the community and still be able to work in the neighborhood. And everyone don't make that kind of money to pay $4,000 for like a 1-bedroom apartment.
Thank you so much. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and invite Attorney Daniel Radakovich to the platform. Hang on one second. Daniel, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Muted, I'm unmuted. Okay, thank you, Carla, and I'll try to keep my comments to even 2 minutes. Let's see how I do. I'm an attorney with offices at 900 West Jackson. I moved here from downtown, central downtown, 111 West Washington in 1991, rented our building, which is a mixed-use residential commercial building, went condo in 2000, and I bought my first unit in 2000. So I've been in the neighborhood now for 31 years, which is hard to believe. I have interest now in 6 units in my building. I am very much in favor of this project. I really believe, and I've studied this neighborhood and seen the increase in the neighborhood. I really believe that this will increase everybody's property values. Certainly there's demand for people living right in the central city where they can walk downtown, excellent public transportation. I love it here. I would never move back to the loop. I've seen the building, the artificial barriers, tall building couldn't be built west of the expressway, and then it had to be east of Halsted, now west of Halsted. I mean, I think at some level, density is inevitable. I guess you can try to fight it, but I just think the economics and the market makes it inevitable. I think the building itself is really attractive. I'm really intrigued with the very slender tower and the feel of the building with what's called the platform. I think that the entrance and exit parking on Green is the only a possible way it can be done. It really can't be done on Jackson. I think Mr. Werthmann made good comments with regard to that. I think this is good for the city's tax base. I think this gives people who want to live in the city an opportunity to live in the city. I suspect that some of these apartments might be from empty nesters who want to have a presence in the city. I applaud it. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, and I'm very much in favor of it. Thank you very much for the time.
And Carla, and I apologize if I may say something. I didn't answer that second question that person had in regards to they thought that only on Halsted Street that they can build taller buildings. Well, after we did the central area plan some years ago, density moved west because the city found that in order for the city to be stabilized economically, that they needed more density, and they drew the lines almost up to Ashland. And now, so that everyone know, between Ashland, Roosevelt, and like North Avenue, the city is restudying that, and they're looking to expand it even further west in some instances. And I'm not sure if they're going to go further south or north, because those two areas are probably already high in density. But after the central area plan, that plan for limits on the expressway had changed, and things are continuing to evolve in relationship to the economy, but also in relationship to the city's compatibility or being competitive in trying to get funding for the city, since we've been losing so many people out of the city of Chicago, and it hinders us a lot economically with government for transportation money, health care, and a myriad of other things in relationship to funding that we get from the federal government in relationship to our population.
Thank you so much for that background, Alderman Burnett. There is one other question before we go ahead and get to the last hand that's raised. The question came in that is, where's the community's money from this project? I'm assuming that this could be related to the neighborhood opportunity bonus. Are you paying into that bonus with this project?
Yes, we are. We're paying into the neighborhood opportunity. We're taking for the additional FAR. We're paying $3.4 million into that fund for getting the additional FAR for this project. So that's the amount of money we're paying into the neighborhood opportunity FAR bonus fund.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alderman.
Some of it, I think it's 10%, if I'm not mistaken, goes to the community, and 10% goes to I think landmarks. Landmarks. And so the residents know that we've been meeting with the community organizations, asking the community for ideas of where they want this money spent. Some of the things one of the things that's on the table right now is trying to do a field house over at Skinner Park. But there are some other things like, that type of money has been used on a library that we have in the neighborhood. And also we're looking at lighting under Lake Street and a whole bunch of other things. I know folks been asking to streetscape Madison Avenue. So we're looking at all of those things that people are asking for. And the good thing is that we're blessed in this community to continue to have developments like this that bring those extra dollars to the neighborhood, where we can do some things that we need to do. One of the challenges here
and I know everybody want more green space, is finding some public land or land that we could afford to make more green space. And we're constantly thinking of that. And there's some things that the city is thinking of to maybe not green space, but trying to create more open space in the neighborhood that people can enjoy, similar to green space, like along Randolph Street and some other areas from some ideas people have given us. So we're looking at all those things, and that's what the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is. That's what some of the comments we got from some of the people in the community for some of those things with the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. And we're always and will always be open for any new ideas of where and how to spend some of that money.
Alderman Burnett, where can everyone submit ideas for how to spend this local impact fund? Your office, our office?
Yeah, you can send it to, so the West Loop Gate, West Central, and Now, all three of them give input on it. Yeah, and you can send it to myself, or you can send it to the Department of Planning. And I think, I hope you all are on this email list. If we do, I think we're looking to have another meeting in regards to it. And I hope that these organizations will let more people know about those meetings so everybody can see what's been put on the table and what's priority. You know, the way they're trying to do it is to have, you know, some of the what's first, what's second, what's third, in order to try to get these things done and be fair with it. And if I'm not mistaken, from last meeting we had in reference to it, we were prioritizing some things and seeing what can we do immediately, what won't cost as much, what will take more money, all of those different kind of things. So yeah, you can talk to the organizations and get on their email list, or I can post it on my e-blast to let folks know when those meetings are going to happen again.
Thank you so much, Alderman. And right now we're going to go ahead and allow Butler Adams to make a comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi,
Okay.
Butler.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on this project. I do like it. I mean, I've been following it since it was first basically presented at the Committee on Design. I followed that. I will say I didn't hear if you answered my questions earlier. I got disconnected from the internet, but I do think the facade of this current design is a little bit less inspiring than the previous design. I hope that some of those factors can be brought up. I know this design is not finalized, so I hope that during tweaks that can happen. I will commend the architects and developer on how they changed the base. I do remember how the committee said they wanted some retail, and now that you have introduced that, it seems very, very nice. You're going to have, you know, actual pedestrians visiting this structure, and you've pushed that loading and unloading and parking further to the south. In terms of height and scale and parking, I do know, and I'm pretty sure I know, the city has been encouraging, you know, developers to build less density downtown, and this is within walking distance of public transportation. I don't live in the neighborhood, but I often visit the neighborhood. I drive and I do walk. So, I mean, this density is coming, and as the Alderman said, the city has over the last basically 60 or 70 years lost population from basically 3.67 million to like 2.7 million. So we do have to rebuild our tax base. And right now it seems that's coming with a growing central business district and a central area. I was very encouraged to hear the Alderman say that the city is possibly looking at pushing, I guess, some of the downtown zoning further west. Please include IMD. I'm looking forward to that. In terms of this tower, it's nice. I look forward to speaking on it on the Plan Commission. Again, I hope they kind of increase the facade. And those complaining about traffic and density, you know, this is not just like some private suburban neighborhood. It is still downtown technically. And, you know, there's going to be traffic. People are coming in, but the city is trying to encourage other forms of transportation. And we all need to try to do that, and myself included. So I look forward to this project being built, and good luck to everyone. Thank you for your time.
Carla, do we have any other questions?
Carla, you're muted.
You're muted, Carla.
Only 7 years of Zoom and I'm still muting. Sorry. The last question that came in was, what impact will the precedent of having such a tall building have on future development plans? It seems that as soon as one building gets built taller than others, that more and more later proposals come taller and taller. Is the plan to turn the West Loop into a skyscraper-based business district? Other than that, our comments and questions have been responded to and recorded accordingly. And Armando, if you want to go ahead and
Yeah, thank you,
wrap
Carla.
this up.
Thanks again for everybody for attending tonight. Again, a beautiful summer night. Hopefully you have some time to enjoy it. Really meant what I said earlier. We want to continue to be proactive in getting feedback from you and relaying that over to Alderman Burnett. We did some of that prior to tonight's meeting, and we are up for the task of continuing to do everything that we can to keep the dialogue coming. Taken a lot of your comments, noted them tonight, and we look further to more engagement on this. Certainly hope to have more cooperation and more time spent by the developer to be also proactive in getting feedback and meeting with the nearby neighbors. So with that, thanks again, Alderman. Thank you to you and your staff for being able to attend the meeting tonight. Have a great night, and thank you very much.
Yeah, Armando, before we go, just want folks to know, we still have to wait for the comments from all of the community organizations. I'm gonna take all of the things that was spoken here into consideration. And yes, the developer do have to meet with the adjacent neighbors since they showed some concern and should have done it. So that's so they're gonna deal with that, and we'll take those things into consideration. We may have to agree to disagree with some of the things that planning is encouraging them to do. So I heard some folks talk about a couple of things. I heard folks talk about parking, a number of parking spaces, which you can look at. We're talking about the Uber, where people go. I heard some folks talk about height. I heard folks talk about green space. As far as public green space go, I don't know if money can be donated towards some green space in the community, if there's any place to put it. And, you know, we're gonna take care of the stop sign. I heard folks talk about the material of the building. So all of those things we're gonna take into consideration. And when I sit down with planning, I'm gonna give them my synopsis of what went on at this meeting. I took a picture of all the comments and questions up here. Appreciate everyone's concerns, their comments and their concerns. We're gonna deal with this accordingly. Again, if planning do decide to encourage them to change something major, we will have this organization to show it to the community and let everybody know if that's the case before it comes to the Plan Commission and zoning. And you all need to know, planning, the Plan Commission and zoning are both public structures, so folks are welcome to make their comments there also. Thank you very much.
And Alderman, sorry if I was abruptly ending the meeting there. I apologize.
That's okay.
We'll get better.
I would just like to say on behalf of the development team, we really appreciate the opportunity that you gave us to make this presentation tonight. And we look forward to going forward and working with the community on this project. And again, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack. And I'll just remind everybody that it doesn't end tonight. So the conversation continues. Again, want to just remind you that you can send comments and questions to communitymeetings@wcachicago.org or Carla at wcachicago.org, or as I mentioned, here every day. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me and or of course Alderman Burnett's office, who is seems to always make himself available for one of the most accessible aldermen, I think, in the city. He has weekly ward nights, I believe. So anyhow, thank you again for joining us tonight, and enjoy this beautiful night.
Thank you.
So